Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's regularly scheduled City Council meeting. The meeting is called to order. I kindly ask our City Clerk to please take the roll call.
Here.
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 Dean Kilberg.
Here.
Craig Maladra.
Here.
Richard Marks. Gene McGowan.
Here.
Jim Radecki's out. Robert Swanson.
Here.
We begin our City Council meetings with a Pledge of Allegiance. And I would like to ask, let's see, whom should we ask? I think we should ask these two gentlemen on my right to lead us in the pledge. What do you say, guys? Mr. Kling? Mr. Kling and Mr. Thorson. Thank you.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen. And before we begin business tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I have a brief statement I'd like to read. If it's true that laughter is the best medicine, then this weekend we lost two of America's most prolific and powerful medics, with the deaths of Mr. Dick Gregory and Mr. Jerry Lewis. Both Mr. Gregory and Mr. Lewis taught Americans and the world that humor exists not merely to make us laugh, but make us think as well. Both men had a self-deprecating wit, both men were activists in their own right, and both men could use humor in such a way as to expose the weaknesses of society, institutions, and people in power in a way that demanded transformation of how we see, treat, and honor people that are different from us. On a personal note, I had the pleasure of working with Jerry Lewis for almost 7 years. His loss will be felt, as will Mr. Gregory's. I think all of us can agree they were transformative men in their own right, and certainly I believe that humor has lost two kings, not just one. So, thank you. Okay. We get to introduce new employees, the electric lineman, Chris Kling. Chris, come on up, big guy. And well done on the pledge, man. Are you related to the Kling family of Geneva?
I doubt it.
Okay. I went to high school with some Klings. So
You never know.
You never know, man.
Could be.
You've been a journeyman lineman for 8 years.
4 years. I was an apprentice for 4 years.
4 years,
and
okay.
then I got my journeyman's and
Got it.
done that for 4 years now.
From Gering, Nebraska.
Yes, sir.
Now, where the heck is that?
As far west as you can go.
Is that right?
Yeah, the eclipse went over it today.
So, just shy of Colorado.
Yeah, it takes probably takes about 2 hours to get into Colorado. It takes
Is that
about
right?
30 minutes to get into Wyoming.
Oh, wow. You worked for the Gering Electric Utility before being hired by Geneva.
Yes, sir.
Now, it says here you're starting a family and the baby's due very soon. How is soon is very soon?
She'll be 39 weeks on Friday, so
Oh, wow. So we had to have this tonight just in case.
just in case.
Wow. Is this your first baby?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Do you know the gender?
Boy.
Do you have a name picked out? Don't say it on TV, though. If you don't.
We're arguing about it still.
Oh, are you?
We drew names out of a hat, and I won, but I still didn't win, so.
You know you're on television, right?
Yes, sir.
You have an associate's degree in power line maintenance and technology.
Yes, I do.
Where's your degree from?
WNCC, it's Western Nebraska Community College.
We hear all the time that working near, on, or with power lines is a dangerous profession.
Yes, it is.
Knowing that, how do you reconcile that danger with your love of the work?
Respect it.
Respect it.
As long as you respect what you're doing and you've got a good group of guys to work with, which you guys have tons of knowledge in the department here. It is amazing. And you got a good group of guys and level-headed. So it's a team effort. Everybody's there to watch each other, and as long as you do that, you go home at the end of the day and everybody's happy.
That's awesome. And do you hear that cooing in the back?
Yeah.
Are you getting used to that?
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Yeah. Probably not at midnight, but it'll be okay.
So what did you make of the eclipse today?
I was working, so I missed it.
Oh, that's a good answer, man. What message do you have for other men and women who would like to follow in your footsteps?
It's a great career. I mean, it's a true brotherhood. You spend more time at work than you do with your family, and in this line of work, you have so much trust going into what you do, and it's just like family, basically. I mean, that's how you treat them. That's what you think of them. So.
And you've had a warm welcome already.
I have.
Fantastic.
Been from just out there to City Hall to the people around here. It's been real nice. My wife really enjoys the area, so.
Is she tuning in tonight?
I doubt it.
She's got to change the name before you get home.
Yeah.
Well, we're proud to have you on board.
Appreciate it.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Thorson.
Approach.
If you dare. Now you've got to introduce your guests this evening.
You would like me to, or?
I'd like you to, of course. This is huge.
Well, I got the dates wrong. I thought it was September the 21st, not August 21st. So I had dinner plans with my family, but my wife, my very pregnant wife, Caitlin, my mom, Patty Thorson, who I think some of you are pretty familiar with.
Absolutely.
My dad, Dino, and my first child, Henry, back there. He was the one cooing. He's soon to have another sibling.
And Henry is 17 months old.
Yep.
I believe, Caitlin, you're due October 11th. Is that correct?
That is true.
Wow.
So I have 218 months, so it should be fun.
That's exciting, isn't it?
Very
And you're a
much so.
Geneva graduate.
Yeah.
And you were there for what, 7, 8 years?
It was a long 4.
It was a long 4,
yeah,
wasn't it?
yeah, I'll say that. It's a good 4, though.
You were hired as an apprentice lineman.
Yep.
You worked for several divisions of public works, the streets from 2008 to 2010, water 2010 to 2013, wastewater 2013 to 2017.
Mm-hmm.
You just completed climbing school. Now, is that climbing school for your profession, or is that climbing school for fun?
Required for the profession, yeah.
Got it. And how was climbing school?
It was 3 weeks in Medway, Ohio, and they
really?
taught us pretty much how to wear gaffs and safety gear and climb up and down power poles. We really didn't get into the specifics of working on any lines or anything like that. It was more or less getting comfortable with heights and going up and down a lot.
So acrophobia is not one of your conditions?
Not in the least. I assume that's fear of heights, but
I have no idea. It sounded good. Clerk told me to ask the question.
oh, no, I don't mind heights at all.
Not my heights at all.
Yeah.
And obviously your colleague Chris talked about the support and the teamwork.
Mm-hmm.
Heading up a pole, particularly during a emergency, a storm, what have you, is that a little unnerving?
It is, but that's why you go through the training, you know. And like you said, it's a brotherhood, so you're going up a pole with another guy or working on a certain outage. You want to get people their power back as quick as possible, as safely as possible.
Of course.
Because you know that they're relying on that, and they're relying on you to get the job done. So it's kind of nice to work with a lot of people of different ages because they've been in the trades for a lot longer than you have, and some people are, you know, nearing retirement, some are in the middle of their career, some are beginning their careers now, so it's nice to get a lot of good advice from everyone in different stages of life.
And safety is paramount.
Absolutely. Number one.
Do you have the authority in confronting an unsafe situation to, quote, stop the process until it is safe?
I wouldn't say authority, but I would definitely say something about it, yeah, and I feel comfortable saying it, yeah.
Part of the safety culture, isn't it?
Absolutely. Communication, yep.
That's awesome. Now you have a BS, how ironic. You have a BS in public affairs and a minor in information systems.
Yep.
Where'd you go to school again?
Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana.
Holy God. So you're using your degree.
To an extent. I mean, I am pretty well educated, I like to think, and
Absolutely.
in the next 4 years of this apprenticeship, there's going to be a lot of book work and a lot of
Yeah.
studying and test taking involved, so I think I'm
What's the
prepared
number one
for it.
quality you have to do the work you do?
Confidence. You have to know what you're doing. You have to rely on the other guys around you and know that they know what they're doing as well.
Now you seem like a naturally happy guy.
Absolutely.
You love your work.
I do.
You're servicing the very home that you grew up in.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Do your mom and dad ever call you saying, what's going on with the power?
They did, yes.
Did they?
I believe there was an issue where someone, or I guess there was a outage that wasn't reported to Public Works. It was more or less just known on Twitter, and that was why the response time was not as quick as it would have been.
Did you say?
But they did mention it to me, yes.
Oh, did they? Just kind of in passing?
Yep.
Is this conditioned upon you being fed there?
No.
No. Well, we're very proud of you.
Thank you very much.
We're delighted to have you, and congratulations on your new assignment.
Thank you.
Be safe.
I will.
And good luck, Caitlin.
Thank you.
And you'll let us know,
Sure.
the baby?
Yeah.
Sound good? Because every time a baby is born from one of our employees, we always send a gift certificate to Batavia. So it's nice to...
Well, I'll be sure to use it.
Yes, sir.
I think you talked about teamwork in the electrical department. I think that probably you developed.
Dean, can you pop your microphone up?
Oh, yeah.
Excuse me.
You talked about teamwork in the electrical department, and I know that you played some football at Geneva High School through the years, and I think that probably Coach Wazinski, you were one of his first classes, I think, that graduated. And if I remember correctly, you were involved in probably one of the most historic Batavia-Geneva games that was ever played here in Geneva. You want to remind us a little bit about that game?
We're going to fact check you.
My memory might be a little hazy on it because it's been, what would that be, 13 years ago. But I believe it was triple overtime that we lost in, unfortunately. I was the kicker at the time, and it was my responsibility to make the field goal, and it didn't go through the uprights in the end. But yeah, like you said, it was a very, very exciting game from beginning to end. So.
And you were part of the teams. You were the nucleus, really, that turned around the football program here in Geneva, and that.
It was more the weightlifting program that we got going from the ground up.
But I mean, your class and a lot of the guys that were in that class really instilled some commitment to the program, and you set an example for a lot of classes that followed for the next decade, and a lot of success as a result. So, again, if you can bring that to the electric department and that same enthusiasm and commitment, I think all residents of Geneva are in good hands. So good luck to you, Jake.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Kling, did you know about this? His football career? No. Now you do, man. So if you tell him, you just put it through the uprights, double check. Right, Mrs. Thorson? Jake, congratulations, man.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now go back and have dessert.
All right.
Okay.
Again.
Item 3C, folks, is to consider the mayor's appointment of Chesman Beechler and Deanna Matskill to the Cultural Arts Commission. Is there a motion? Motion by Maladra.
Second.
Seconded by Berger. All of you received an email from me last week with both these candidates' applications included. Is there a motion? There is. There's a second by Berger. All in favor of the appointment, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Who would like to say hello first? Jasmine, welcome.
Thank you.
And you've got your family with you.
I do, yes. I'm here with my husband Ryan and my son Nate.
How's it going, Nate?
He's getting a little sleepy.
We all are.
Yeah.
So welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And you've got a very storied background.
I guess so.
Yeah, I think so. You both do. So what can you share with us that the council knows, but perhaps those tuning in don't?
Regarding my background here in Geneva, I have lived here for 5 years, and I've done some volunteering with the Batavia Apartments. I did after-school tutoring, and then most recently was co-chair of the Yes Geneva Library referendum campaign. And so following the successful completion of that, I was looking for other opportunities to serve the community when I saw the vacancy available here for the Cultural Arts Commission.
Wonderful. We're excited to have you.
Great, thank you.
And I think you're going to have a ball, correct? Have a lot of fun. What's the first event coming up?
The next on the calendar, I'm not certain actually. We'll have to talk.
I think it's getting the water out of Island Park.
Yeah.
Well, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Deanna. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm
Thank
excited
you.
to be here.
We're excited to have you.
Lower that mic. So I'm Deanna, and I've lived in Geneva for 6 years now with my family. My husband and 2 girls are at a kindergarten orientation tonight, but they're excited.
What school?
Harrison Street.
Cool.
Yeah. So I have a real personal connection to Geneva. We got married here, fell in love with this town, and decided to raise our family here. And I just decided it was a good time for me to contribute my creative talents and volunteer time to this amazing group that I'm just feel so honored to be a part of. So
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Any comments or questions for Deanna? We're delighted with your enthusiasm as well.
thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I said to both ladies, by all means, if they need to sneak out, feel free to do so. So, item 3D, as in David, is the presentation of the SPAC annual report. We have the Honorable Mrs. Clemens with us tonight. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Good, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to give you an update on what SPAC, the Strategic Plan Advisory Committee, what we just call it SPAC, has been doing for the last year. I know we have a few new members of the council. For the benefit of those who are tuning in, just to remind everybody what we do on SPAC is we offer citizen input, guidance, feedback on the strategic plan. We preserve the strategic plan, and we help with the prioritization of the goals within the plan. We're a volunteer committee, and we represent a wide range of members of our community. We include on our board, we have a high school student, we have a college student, we're commuters, we work locally, we have parents who have young families who are about to start school, kindergarten this week. We have more senior members of our community. So all together, as I said, we represent a wide range of voices, and that really provides a better sounding board for the council, and really a better representative for the city as well. I recently was elected chair of SPAC, and I would like to take this opportunity to recognize and thank Mark Brault, who has served as chair since 2011. He couldn't be here tonight. He had a prior commitment, but I really did want to recognize him and all that he's done for SPAC. Over the years since he chaired it, SPAC has increased its contributions to the city, and really it's become a stronger representative for our community. So I thank him for all he's done, and I hope to continue with the same leadership. So other members of our SPAC committee are Jennifer Main, who is our treasurer, Barb Merrill, who's our secretary, Brian Beveridge, who is here tonight, Brendan Casson, who is also here tonight, Dan Janis, and our 2 newest members are Davis Dickinson, who is our student representative, and Alexa Schwab, who is also a new member this year. So we did say goodbye to Leslie Juby this year. I also would like to thank her and recognize her for her many contributions. She served on SPAC for a long, long time and offered a lot of very useful guidance and insight into everything for the city. And so we miss her. So this past year, SPAC focused most of its time on consolidating the strategic plan. We took a hard look at revising certain sections of it, not rewriting. We wanted, again, to preserve the integrity of it, but we did find there were certain goals that were a bit repetitive, so we consolidated those together, and our overall hope was to make it easier for the council to look through the plan, prioritize, and make it easier for our citizens to understand it as well. And of course, we also went through our annual process of prioritizing goals, just like you do at your annual meeting too. Much of our work is conducted through our subcommittees that fall under the SPAC umbrella. So the Natural Resources Committee, which is chaired by Jay Womack, who I also believe is here. And the purpose of NRC is to promote awareness and foster improvements in Geneva's environment. And they do this by hosting multiple events, hands-on activities. You will see many emails from Jay every week sharing news about the activities that our citizens can get involved in, and I encourage you to do that. And all the purpose of this is to preserve our natural beauty that we all love so much, that draws us to this area, and to educate our fellow residents. So some of their projects this past year included Geneva's 10th Earth Day event, the Fox River cleanup, and I'll also mention that the next cleanup is going to be September 24th from 9 a.m. to noon. You can meet at Island Park, and I'm sure Jay can give you more details. The Eastside Drive Fire Station Native Landscape Project, rain barrel sales to promote water conservation, Wine, Cheese, and Trees, which is a very popular and successful fundraiser, which raises money to buy trees for the city. The event raised nearly $20,000, which was used to plant trees in the spring, and more will be planted in the fall. Greening Geneva, which is an initiative to replace the urban forest of Geneva. They donated $10,000 for 20 trees, which were planted on 3rd Street and along a number of side streets. The Fabian Preserve East Stewardship. Jay is the site steward for 200 acres of oak woodland and is working with the Kane County Forest Preserve and volunteers from the area to remove invasive species. You often see them out there in Fabian working on the weekends. They hosted a community open house to support the Fox River National Water Trail designation, which is being developed by Karen Miller and numerous others in Illinois and Wisconsin. And NRC also developed recommendations, or they're working on developing recommendations to be presented to the city regarding potential updates and revisions to the City of Geneva Tree Preservation Ordinance. So they're a busy committee, as you can tell. The International Cultural Exchange Committee, which again also falls under SPAC, is led by Cynthia Albright. Their primary objective is to establish and cultivate cultural exchanges that enrich our lives and as citizens of the world. So this last year, they hosted a Bastille Day celebration at Chez Moi. They participated in a high school student summer exchange for the 7th year, and they host Foreign Film Sunday at the Geneva Library. They also participated in a photo exhibit this year in Croissy in September, and this was a great event. It was a great example of community participation. They were invited to, gather photos from the Geneva community. They decided to host a contest, and everybody could submit their beautiful photos of Geneva. The committee judged them and selected the ones that best represent our city, and then they brought them over to Croissy, and they were there to represent us, along with a few of their other sister cities from, I think maybe Spain and Italy. I can't remember exactly, I must admit. But then after showing them in France, they brought them back here, and our own members of the community could see them, and so it was a very nice activity. And they also had a delegation of 9 travel to Croissy in the spring, and a delegation from Croissy will visit us in the fall, so you can look forward to that visit. And then our one last committee I wanted to mention is the Student Government Committee. This is a committee that's near and dear to our hearts on SPAC. It's educating our next generation about the city government and how it works to encourage them to get involved and to participate. Last year, Jordan Evans chaired the committee. He graduated in May, and so we found a new chair this year who is Davis, and we're happy that he's stepping into that role. They meet on a monthly basis, and they discuss hot topics, including the Airbnb regulations, the sales tax incentive for Dominick's, and the city spring election too. So they get all the materials that you got in your meeting, and they review them, they watch clips from your meeting, and they have their own debate, and then they vote. And then we let them know if their vote agreed with your vote or not, and we discuss it after. And as part of that, this group meets in addition to the biannual student government program, and that's when students shadow city staff for a morning, and then they have lunch alongside members of our city council and other city workers. And then in the afternoon, they usually have either a mock city council meeting or a roundtable discussions. And this year, we're really focusing on increasing our membership in our student government committee. So we're going to focus a lot on recruitment within the high school. If you have high school students, if you know high school students, please spread the word. We would love to have more involved. So looking ahead to this next year, the members of SPAC are quite excited because we're about to proceed with updating the strategic plan. As you know, the current strategic plan is coming to its end, and so it's time to update it and revise it with new goals that meet our current needs. The first step of that is to get community input. And so we're about to undertake a public engagement effort where we issued the city issued an RFP over the summer. And so we're going to hire a consultant to lead community meetings, focus groups, stakeholder interviews. We want to know from the community what is most important to you. What do you want to see going into the strategic plan? So we're in the process of interviewing those consultants now, and we should be presenting our recommendation for who to hire for this role very soon to the council. We hope that the community engagement activities will take place over the fall, and of course, everybody in this room will be very involved in that process. And then the next step, SPAC will write the next strategic plan. We're lucky to have expertise in our committee, communications experts, strategic planning experts. So as opposed to the last strategic plan, which was written by a consultant, SPAC will take on that activity this year, and we'll draft a plan for you to consider. So at this time, I'm happy to take any questions that you have about SPAC.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Any questions or comments for Chairman Clements? Alderman McGowan?
Thank you, Mayor Burns. I was just kind of wondering to myself during your presentation, and by the way, thank you for all that great information. Let me see, what are maybe some objectives that the SPAC committee feels that the Geneva City Council has done a great job meeting, and then maybe what are some other goals and initiatives that maybe in the last decade or so the City Council or city has kind of fallen short of? I know it's a big question, but is there any particular thing that kind of jumps out at you?
Oh, that is a good question. I believe when we go through our prioritization process, we usually align pretty closely with the city and with the goals that you prioritize. The ones that usually rise to the top for us within the last few years are anything regarding safety, so supporting our police, our fire departments, pedestrian walkway, pedestrian safety, bike safety. Those are always things that rise to the top for us. In terms of shortfalls, I think I'll have to get back to you on that. I can't think of anything off the top of my head where I was at the city right now isn't seeing eye to eye with SPAC. We definitely believe in continuing to support our city staff and making sure that the city is equipped to carry out the strategic plan. So that perhaps is something that we want to continue.
So it sounds like there's been a really strong collaboration, you know.
Yeah, I feel like we get a lot of support from the city, and I think we feel appreciated for the work that we do.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Alderman Gilbert?
Thank you for your volunteerism and the many ways that you and your committee supports the community. I certainly hope that you'll find time in November to join us for our retreat. I know that Mark has joined us for the last several years, and that we'll be very interested in some of the information that you'll bring forward, I'm sure, at that time.
Great. Yeah, I definitely plan to be there.
Good.
Anyone else from the dais? Anyone in the audience? Any questions for the chairman? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion to accept the report presented by Chairman Clements. Is there a motion? Motion by Alderman McGowan.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Ruby. All in favor, please say aye. Anyone opposed? Prior to inviting the chief up, I'm curious if Lauren Jennison is with us.
She's not, but I am here.
You are here, okay.
Yeah, and so is Steve.
Come on up, guys. A last-minute add-on, ladies and gentlemen. Lauren Jennison, a member of the Natural Resources Committee, has to step aside from her role on the NRC. She is moving to be closer to her professional life.
Yes.
And I know that the chairman, Mr. Womack, and your entire team acknowledges her extraordinary support, her commitment, the contributions.
We do.
And I know you want just an opportunity to thank her in public.
We do. Lauren's been with us for about 3 years, and she's been a great addition to the group. Actually, her husband, Paul, took a job at Northwestern to be the assistant soccer coach. I know he was the soccer coach for the girls' soccer team in St. Charles, so I'm assuming maybe the same thing. I don't know specifically, but they're moving up there. They moved in at the end of July. So Lauren emailed me and said, Jay, I really hate to do this, but I can't. It's too far. They're living in Glenview at the moment. They're looking for a place in Northwestern. Lauren's been really, she's a fellow landscape architect, so she has a great eye for design. She designed our last Wine, Cheese, and Trees poster, which was incredibly popular. She helped to develop the plaque that we dedicated to Western Avenue for their edible schoolyard garden. And she's just and she's also been helping significantly with Steve to help put together some of the revisions to the tree preservation ordinance that we'll be bringing to Stephanie here sometime soon. And just a really nice little story is she, as a landscape architect, she was also involved with the ASLA, the American Society of Landscape Architects. It's a statewide organization. And she emailed me one day and said, Jay, I'm in Geneva. I'd love to know more about the NRC, what you guys do. I sent her back this nice list of the things that we do, and she emailed back and she said, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I want to do. I want to help with someone who actually gets something done. She said, I've been involved with ASLA now for a couple years, and I don't feel like we're doing the things that I really want to do. And she joined our group, and she was fantastic to have for 3 years. So we would like to recognize her as just being a great supporter and contributor to everything that we've done. And as people do leave, which hopefully they don't ever, we would like to honor them as well. So she's the first one that we'll be presenting this to.
Fantastic. Well, we do have a certificate for her.
Great.
I could trust you'll make certain she receives this.
I shall.
I'll bring it to you, sir.
It's like Judge Judy. Don't approach the bench. And can I just say, you're one of the funniest people I know.
Who's that?
You.
You gotta get out.
You are very humorous.
Like these socks?
I love them.
Isn't that cool?
A little bit of humor in our life is always
That's
good.
from Lauren.
That's awesome. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you
to see
so
you.
much.
Always.
We really appreciate
Good
it.
to see you, man.
And we just put some stakes in the ground for 2 new trees that'll be planted by American artists in
Oh,
the
nice.
planter right across from Buttermilk. So
Fantastic.
we'll get those going here soon. Get
Wonderful.
some street trees going.
Thank you. Thank you both.
You're welcome. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, gentlemen. Chief Antonori, we have a presentation, ladies and gentlemen, regarding the Geneva Fire Department, courtesy of our very own chief. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council, staff. I have a few slides just to kind of direct the kind of an annual update. Some of them are educational, some of them are factual. Well, they're all factual, so I shouldn't say it that way, but that would be. But one of the things that we try to accomplish with this annual report is to fulfill a couple of the items of the Accreditation Commission, which is at least on an annual basis. I stand in front of you, point out any shortfalls, any gaps in services that we may see coming, are in existence. So this is one of the things that we'll try to accomplish tonight. I know there's more new on people on the council than there has been in the past. So one of the things that we do spend a lot of time on is community risk reduction. And by definition, we are looking at all of our commercial and industrial occupancies. We rank and rate them and determine if they're low, medium, or high risk. By definition, the 7,500, 8,000 residential units in the community are considered low risk. It's the commercial and industrial occupancies, whether it's life safety issues, what they're doing there, FONA versus a hospital, that consider medium and high risk, and we build our response patterns around those. So just want to kind of orientate you to that model. We'll be talking about that in a little bit, but we fill out rankings and ratings, and we look at things from how likely they're to happen and what the consequences are. So you can have a lot of daily events that have relatively insignificant consequences, but you can have that one extraordinary event that could be like a tornado or something that would consider high consequences. So we look at that community risk assessment model. We've also broken down the city into 6 planning zones, response planning zones. We're naturally bisected by a river and the main line of the Union Pacific. So we naturally have only 2 crossings, east and west, between the east side and the west side. And even though we have five north-south non-grade level crossings, we really only use 3. So we have Peck Road, Randall Road, Route 31 underpass, Route 25 and the Kirk Road. But since Kirk and Peck are on the edges, we really use the 3. And predominantly it's Randall Road and the 31. So that takes into account some of our response time issues that we'll talk about. This map also highlights in red high-risk buildings such as care centers, high occupancy buildings, schools, some of our industrial clients, and then some medium risk, and the vast majority of the community is low risk residential parcels. So we'll talk a little bit about these 6 planning zones. Peck Road to Randall, Randall to River, River to Kirk is really the east-west, and then north and south is the railroad tracks. Something else we'll touch on a bit is total response time. So when we pick up the phone and call 911, to the time that we are toned out is called the call processing time. Give it 60 seconds as a target. So depending on if it's landline versus mobile, why does that matter? Nowadays about 80% of the calls are coming in by mobile phone. In the landline days, automatically you knew where they were calling from because the phone company would transmit the address, it would pop up on the screen, no questions, everybody knew where to go. Nowadays, if the person doesn't know where they are, a lot of time spent trying to figure out where they are. Even with phase 2 wireless cell phones, so it's triangulated down, it's still down to yards, hundreds of feet sometimes, and we just don't know where the people are. So that takes time, and depending on how calm the caller is, get the information out, we hope for 60 seconds. Then from the time it rings the bell to the time we get going, day, night, dress out, safely seated is 90 seconds, which gives us 4 minutes to drive to the scene, which means we would like our first due unit there 6 minutes and 30 seconds from the time you push 911. So that's what total response time is. So scene to station to scene is traffic, weather, distance to travel. We're seeing more and more, at least qualitatively, less and less people are pulling over for us. We're starting to see the drive times increase. We're starting to see the traffic impact things. Time of the day has a lot to do with if you're trying to cross town at 5 in the afternoon versus 3 in the morning, big difference is we all drive in town. So these are all some of the things that we work with on total response time, because getting there is the important. So we look at the data in 5-year chunks. So on average, our 2 challenging response zones are 1, which is the upper northwest quadrant of the city, and 5, which is the area right below the Route 31 bridge. Those are 2. 1 is a distance and 1's a pinch point. So we'll talk about a few of the things we're doing to try to get down to the 6 minutes and 30 seconds total response time for emergencies. But you can see the numbers have stayed fairly consistent over the last 2 measurement periods, and those are our challenging areas. We've talked about that. We've talked about it, results of the upcoming Union Pacific Third Rail Project. What will we do when that 31 underpass is closed for a length of time, and we'll get to that someday when that project's finally kicks off. So, but known issues. It takes a long time to get out west because Station 2 has to come up Randall Road, and depending on the time of the day, it can be a bear to get up there. And pinching down through the downtown, whether we go around the edges or come down to the middle, is a timely matter. It takes a little bit more time. So another thing we also measure is our effective response force to a structure fire. So our effective response force for a structure fire is 18 personnel, 90% of the time, capable of producing 3,000 gallons per minute of pumping in less than 9 minutes and 30 seconds. We measure each one. Last year we had 4 structure fires in the city. This is based on critical task analysis. This is everything from rescue, getting water in the fire, positive water supply, all the things we need to do. We've timed those, and we've determined that it takes a minimum of 18 people in that 9 minutes and 30 seconds. So we looked at Conant, Hillcrest Road, Fulton Street and Red Wing, and in 2 cases we met the ERF or within 6 seconds. Hillcrest, an auto aid company was out of quarters farther into Elburn, and since it was also the far northwest corner, it's a challenging area, so we missed about 45 seconds. And Fulton Street started out as what we call a full still, and the timer starts then, and so it adds more time. So that was Mr. Bruno's garage fire. He's not here tonight for you guys to make fun of him, but that took a little longer to generate an effective response for us. So we look at that as faster, better, mitigate the damage, and then we continue to study those each time and try to find out what we can do to get there better. At the Red Wing second level box, we had everybody there plus some in 809. We effectively, eventually, I think in less than 20 minutes, had 58 firemen on the scene to fight that fire. So goals in the fiscal year 2017 was manage the seamless transition as senior manager of the fire department. Completed that. Not only my position changed, we also have a new fire marshal in place, Dustin. We also have managed the retirement of 2 battalion chiefs last year, so those are all in process, and I'm happy to report well along on the 3rd battalion chief promotional exam, and I think that went very well. We prepared for and received our 4th accreditation cycle from the Committee for Fire Accreditation. We worked to support the ambulance services accreditation, which was received in January this year. And we also hosted a visit from the Insurance Service Office and went from ISO 3 to ISO 2 in December. We're one of 175 fire departments in the United States and now have achieved ISO 2. We're within striking distance of ISO 1. Probably in 2 years we'll reassess ourselves, and then we would be in the rare form of a completely accredited and ISO 1 department, we hope. And then a bonus, we completed a vehicle storage facility out at Station 2 and unencumbered that station with our special teams trailers. A lot of words, so I'll paraphrase this. So out of the accreditation process came multiple strategic recommendations. Sorry. I'll put my glasses on. They talked about several recommendations, and this is a 5-year plan. So the ones in yellow or pale yellow are things that we made some progress on. Formally and regularly scheduled training with our auto aid partners, St. Charles, Batavia, Elburn, West Chicago. We're in the process of that, and we've started that, and that's continuing to take hold. Update to the most current versions of the International Fire Code and the International Building Code. Working with the building department, we're well in process of that this fiscal year to finish those upgrades to the International IBC, the IFC, and the NFPA Life Safety Code. Standardized training for commercial property inspections. With Dustin's addition to the department, we've made great progress in that area. The other thing we've made progress on is we do not have our own live fire training facility. So by reaching out to some of our partners, including the new facility that's been built in West Chicago, we expect to reach that goal this year and be able to train a lot more often with live fire. It's an absolute necessity when you don't have fires every day to continue to hone your skills and real practice, which is real fire. So that's a good process. Evaluation of our programs. We're working on funding for a more robust EOC is down the road, and including using some unused space in the basement. So I think we made good progress in the strategic recommendations after 1 year. We expect to make more progress, and I'll show you in a minute on our goals for this year. Specific recommendation that we finished: upgrade our technical rescue equipment. We've made 100% of our investment now in water rescue equipment. After the latest floods, it became very handy with all the response we've had, and we'll now move on to fixing up our ropes and our other technical rescue. We did receive funding from the City Council, and we're working on the bids right now for the new Zodiac rescue boat, which was getting quite old. In fact, it half fell apart on one of our rescues this spring. And then ground ladder inspection program is in place, and we are making reasonable progress to obtain a second set of turnout gear for the firefighters. Since I've started, the #1 health risk to firefighters is now cancer. A lot of young firefighters are coming down with rare cancers, around the throat, kidney, etc. And the research is now showing us absorption of toxins from the gear that we wear. So we have to clean it after every fire. We don't have enough gear to re-equip them, so they're ready for the next one. So we're moving as fast as we can with funding there. But it's definitely like SCBA, self-contained breathing apparatus, was in the 70s. It's really the 2000s issue. So I'm waiting on the American Fire grant that we wrote. They were in round 15 last week. We haven't lost yet. So we've got our fingers crossed that we'll get a grant and we'll be able to do that in one fell swoop, but we'll see what happens. Other issues on this list, we've talked about the ladder truck and the engines that need to be replaced. That's longer term planning. Advanced life support engine at Station 1 is more of a manpower issue than a money issue. So we are probably a couple years away from having enough paramedics with retirements to be able to man a second ALS engine. So what are the strategic drivers we're going to be looking at in the next few years? Leadership development within the fire department. A lot of young, new officers want to develop their leadership capabilities. Timeliness and precision of our execution. Continue to drive the accreditation process. Safety and health of the firefighters. Community emergency preparedness. Training. Staffing along the part-time side. Our department, like many other departments, are suffering from the, I guess after the long recession, a lot of the departments have been hiring full-time. So we've been seeing our manpower draw down. How do we attract more? How do we get more people on board? We're completely committed to the part-time staffing model, but like Batavia, like Elburn, like Montgomery, struggles in that area of finding enough people willing to do this job, capable of doing this job. Of course, investments in aging infrastructure, equipment, and vehicles, and then deeper performance-based metrics. You know, we would like to have more performance-based metrics that can measure, that are more predictive. This year, as you've seen in the budget goals, develop a safety investment program, continue that accreditation process, develop and fund a long-term capital replacement program, a comprehensive update to our domestic preparedness and planning and response plan, and then Chief Passarelli and I coordinate together to have more community-based meetings. So we're working on that. So those are our major goals for the year, of amongst many minor ones. So at this point, I still have a few minutes, I believe, for some questions and answers.
Questions or comments for the chief? Alderman Ruby.
Just a question about the toxins from the gear. So do the toxins get on the gear when you're exposed to the fire? Okay.
So fires today versus 30 years ago. 30 years ago, a lot more wood, a lot more natural fibers in buildings and homes. But think about all what our kids have. It's all plastic. All the synthetics in the carpets, all the synthetics in the furnishings. The whole house is petroleum based, and the smoke is darker, thicker, and more toxic than it used to be. So where we never used to be cleaning our stuff, because the sign of a experienced fireman was dirty gear and dirty helmet and dirty hoods. Now it's clean. So we've bought all new hoods, and we have spare hoods now that they have to wash them after every fire. You have to clean your helmet. You have to clean the inside of your helmet. You have to take a shower and change clothes after the fire. You have to clean your boots. We're starting to decon the inside of the fire engine, so where we sit on the way back or scrubbing them out after fires. So lots of research in this area, and we've started to try to get ahead of that curve here. So that's the real reason.
Okay. Wow. Thank you.
Sure.
Alderman Kilberg.
I know we've had a few conversations in regard to this, but what can residents in Geneva do to help with response time? I know that we had a recent fire on the east side, and you guys were presented with some unique challenges as it relates to getting to the fire. I think that one of the things I've noticed is a lot more cars parked on our streets. Maybe you'd want to comment on that.
You know, the response is interesting. A lot more people don't pull to the right. They either stop dead in the middle of the street or somehow, some way think it's okay to pull to the middle of the street, and then the unpredictability of that increases the safety issues. It makes us, we have to slow down, we have to stop. So, you know, the one thing, if you hear sirens, you see us coming, people try to outrace us, people try to outturn us, people try to speed up. Just pull over, we'll pass quickly, it'll be safer. And then if there's parking that's allowed, fine. If there's parking that's not allowed, please don't park there, because some of these streets are designed to not pass when both sides are parked, and we get awfully close to cars on the way to a fire. You know, and again, we're careful, but we really don't want to have any damage. Yeah, we were challenged just due to the number of cars and the fact it was an alley garage fire, and that's a special challenge in and of itself. Sure. But it's really just the things you learn in driver's ed. Pull over, wait. It's an emergency. We don't drive unless it's that way unless it's an emergency. So that would be very helpful.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anyone else? Alderman Ruby.
I remembered another question in regards to response time. I don't know if you can flip back to the map of the areas. I think section 4 had a longer average, or actually that page, yeah, 4 was, the average time was 6:09 versus 6 was 6:40, but 6 is so much closer to the station, so that just caught my eye.
4, albeit there's a station in there, there's a lot of windiness to zone 4. Getting back up into Miller Road and getting around.
Oh, that's the other fire station?
Yeah, the other fire station is close to, is
okay,
in 4.
So it's not, that makes sense, never mind. I was thinking it was the one on East Side Drive that was making it to 4 faster than 6, and that didn't make sense to me.
No, 3 is East Side Drive's area, and 4 is the Fargo station.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Sure.
Anyone else from the dais? Alderman McGowan.
Thank you, Mayor Burns. Thank you for this information and the presentation, Chief Antonari. I also was wondering if there's anything that the city government can do, or City Hall rather can do, to help maybe by way of public service announcement, just kind of send out friendly reminders to people. What is the phrase, like, if you see lights, you know, pull to the right, that kind of thing. I mean, obviously not every vehicle in the way of a Geneva fire truck is going to be a Geneva resident, but is that something that the city has done in the past and may be willing to do again, like maybe on the bottom of a utility bill or something like that?
Sure.
Just have a little...
Kevin Starr and I can put together a little bit of campaign around that, and a little Twitter, Facebook, and
sure, I mean,
other social multimedia.
I think it couldn't hurt anyway.
Yeah.
And then I remember reading a while back something about shower facilities at the fire stations. Are they adequate right now for officers to have? So that you mentioned, I think when I met with you a while back, officers would have to like go home to shower, but are all of the fire stations fully equipped now with like a decontamination type?
We have adequate showers. They don't have to take them together or anything, so it's single. But no, we before everybody can go home that's come in from off duty, the on-duty crews rotate through the showers, clean up, and then the off-duty crews can take showers and clean up, and so we're in good shape there.
Okay, well that's good to know. And then my last question, when the fire department arrives, they found the address, how often do you find that there's a vehicle parked in front of a fire hydrant?
Not very often, but we have our ways to maneuver around that.
Okay, so it's not like,
no,
you know, people aren't really...
No, it's not that prevalent. I mean, is it sometimes tighter than we want? Sure, but again, we have... I don't think there's any way that we're not going to get to the fire hydrant some way or another, so...
Okay,
occasionally you'll see it, but luckily for us, at least my 21 years here, we've never really had a blocked hydrant that's gotten in the way of firefighting.
And it hasn't been an issue if
no,
it is? Okay,
no,
all right,
no.
I was just wondering. Well, thank you very much.
Sure.
Anyone else from the dais? Anyone in the audience? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Oh, and just one invite. I know there's folks that, you know, if you would like to come over sometime and ride with us or otherwise partake in the activities, let me know, and the officers of the department want to make an invite to anybody on the council that would like to get a more in-depth view of how we do things. When we do come up with a live burn, hopefully in the next year, we'll make it open for participation, limited and safe, but you're always welcome to join us to see what's really like. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Item 4, ladies and gentlemen, amendments to the agenda. Are there any amendments this evening? Item 5 is the omnibus agenda. All items marked with an asterisk are considered to be routine and can be enacted with one motion. Is there such a motion? Alderman Burkhart makes the motion. Alderman Swanson makes the second. Any questions? Any comments? Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Sarah Burkhart.
Aye.
Don Cummings.
Aye.
Becky Ruby.
Aye.
Dean Kilburg.
Aye.
Craig Maladra.
Aye.
Jean McGowan.
Aye.
Robert Swanson.
Aye.
The motion passes with 7 affirmative votes and 3 absent. We move on to item number 10, municipal bills for payment. We kindly ask our clerk to read the bills in their aggregate for our consideration.
Bills for payment total $3,350,838.
Is there a motion to approve the bills as presented?
So moved.
Alderman Ruby makes that motion. Alderman Burkhart makes the second. Any questions or comments regarding the bills? Alderman McGowan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had a brief question about a purchase from the Geneva Ace Hardware of Roundup. And I don't know if anyone, I don't think anyone is here today from Public Works, but that was a question that I had is, I mean, it was less than $100, but I think if we're moving towards being a green city, I feel like that's something that should be looked at. Do we really need to be using Roundup? It's just highly toxic, and I was curious as to what it was being used for. I mean, if it was sort of a minimal amount, then why was it being purchased at all? I think it would be beneficial if we could just eliminate purchases and use of Roundup if it's just being used as like a weed killer. So again, I'd have to check with the Public Works Department, but I think that's something, it's obviously very small, but again, I did see 2 purchases of Roundup from the hardware store. So just something I wanted to note, and I will look into it more this week. But I'm okay with it being on the budget as stated. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? We have a motion by Ruby, a second by Burkhart. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Don Cummings.
Aye.
Becky Ruby.
Aye.
Dean Kilburg.
Aye.
Craig Maladra.
Aye.
Jean McGowan.
Aye.
Robert Swanson.
Aye.
Tara Burkhart.
Aye.
Motion passes with 7 affirmative votes and 3 absent. We skip down to Committee of the Whole items of business. Item 11A is to recommend resolution number 2017-81, authorizing the acceptance of the 2017 Employee Benefit Plan renewal effective November 1, 2017. Is there a motion? Burkhart makes the motion. Is there a second? Seconded by Maladra. Questions or comments from the dais? This matter was voted upon with 8 affirmative votes, 2 nay votes on the 14th. Questions or comments from the dais? Alderman Burkhart?
Alderman Radecki couldn't be here tonight, but he had a statement that he asked me to read into the record. This is Alderman Radecki's opinions. I'm reading it as a courtesy to him. At last week's COW, this item was approved by an 8-2 vote. While I was in the minority and disappointed in the vote, what was more concerning was the total lack of discussion by those in the majority. Next to salaries, this is the largest human capital related expense, totaling almost $2 million. We routinely question expenses that are a fraction of this cost. I also cannot accept that there was such a major misunderstanding between staff and the direction given by the City Council regarding this issue. It makes no sense and is irresponsible to hope that attrition will help us meet our budget. This is particularly true since there will be a request coming soon to add an assistant administrator's position. After vigorous debate, the prior City Council, by majority vote, instructed staff that we would not budget or expend more in employee health care dollars than what was expended the prior year. That was clear. Given the bleak financial picture Geneva currently faces, this was a prudent move. What you have in front of you tonight is a request for an increase. That explanation that we will probably lose some people so the total dollars should remain flat disregards the spirit and intent with how the council wished to control the expense. The council also asked that a high deductible plan be explored with an HSA to offset some of the expenses for our employees. What we got was not a high deductible plan, but rather a deductible $2,500 plan that kept the premium comparable to what is currently offered. This was a modest deductible plan which no employees opted for. It was not a high deductible plan, which again was the spirit and intent of the council. Let me be clear that I value our employees and understand how important health care insurance is for them and their families. However, continuing to offer gold level coverage with only a 10% premium contribution, 15% for employees plus one, is irresponsible. This is particularly true given the poor financial forecast we all just received. The health care plan our employees currently receive is outdated and should be moved in a direction that is more comparable to the rest of the market. Reductions in coverage or increased employee contributions must be considered. If we continue to ignore this uncomfortable issue, it will not get better. Look to the state of Illinois for a good example of a bad example. As much as I may disagree with how the vote occasionally goes, I always listen to opposing comments and have changed my mind in the past. I hope there is at least some thoughtful discussion tonight. Thank you for reading this into the record. Jim Radecki, 4th Ward, Alderman, Geneva. Thank you.
Questions or comments? Alderman Maladra?
Well, I don't know about thoughtful discussion because he's not here, but his comments about how Alderman Radecki listens and often changes his mind are true. So I'll just offer some comments in lieu of discussion. What I think we've done is stick to the decision made by the City Council back in January. I remember that discussion, and the directive given to staff was to stay under a dollar amount, and we have followed that directive. I don't recall a directive that said specifically we aim to cut benefits or to offer. I recall the high deductible plan, but I think we did that as well. So I think that perhaps what Jim says couldn't be as big a miscommunication as it seems. I think at least given that he viewed that conversation one way and I view it in an entirely different way, indicates there was a misunderstanding. I also remember staff asking for clarification at that meeting. Let me understand correctly, this is what we're going to do, and the council said, yes, that's the way we understand it. If Alderman Radecki or anybody else wants to have another discussion about our health benefits, I think that would be a worthwhile exercise. I view it as setting policy in a thoughtful manner as opposed to setting policy on the fly. And so I would recommend that we do that, but that we're not going to hold up this contract in order to do that, because that would be changing policy on the fly. So that's my comments.
Anyone else? Alderman Ruby, then Alderman Cummings.
Last week, the rep stated that, I'm pretty sure he stated that it was equivalent to a silver plan, not a gold, which Jim stated. He did say silver. Yeah. Oh, silver gold. Okay, I had silver in my mind. Anyway, and I did ask the rep also about the employee contribution, and he stated that the 10% was right in line with the industry. those are the reasons that I'm comfortable with this. I'm open to looking into it for next year, but for this year, I also feel that from my understanding of everything is that we are within the budget, and the actual costs will depend on the usage of the plan, the needs of services of our employees will dictate up or down a little bit.
It depends on if you have retirements or resignations and new people are hired, what plan they take, or if somebody gets married or divorced or has a baby or their child turns 27 and fall off the plan. All of those various factors. But as of today, based on the employees that are on the census and what plan they are currently taking, they can change their plan November 1st. We are within the budget.
Okay. So based on all those things, I'm comfortable with approving it. I was last week, and I am still as of this moment. Thank you.
Alderman Cummings.
I was under the impression also that we had set a dollar amount, but I think the lack of agreement on that shows that it wasn't as clear as it should have been. It should have been clearer. It should have been set in writing, I think, and read into the record or something. So it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that a few months later we're disagreeing on what we talked about 7 months ago. I am disappointed that we don't offer a high deductible plan to the employees, especially if there wasn't any additional cost on our part to do that. I would like to see more benefits and more choices offered to the employees rather than less. And particularly in my business, I've learned to never assume somebody's economic preference or economic wherewithal. And the immediate assumption might be, who's going to go with a high deductible plan? And people do go with high deductible plans. There are people that are comfortable saying, I'll take 10 or 15 grand, and I want a small I want a small monthly nut, so to speak, to pay out of my paycheck. And so I do wish that we had seen that in the plan. $2,500 is not considered a high deductible offering. I'm still doing research on the 10% premium contribution. Some of the largest corporations that I've looked at don't offer something that enticing, except for the upper management. But I don't want to compare municipal with corporate. So I'll have more comments, I'm sure, as we move along on this. If not this year, next year. Thank you.
Anyone else from the dais? Alderman Ruby?
Just response to the high deductible concept. I'm not opposed to it, but I do think that it's unlikely that someone would find it appealing when they only have to pay 10% of it. I don't know, I don't have the numbers. It doesn't seem likely that someone would choose the high deductible plan to me. I'm not saying it shouldn't be an option, but it's something to look into. I just don't think it's real likely to be used.
Remember that the 10% is 10% of the cost of the plan. So a high deductible plan may end up being very cheap. And then by definition, if you are paying 10% of something that's already cheap, you're really paying a very low amount of money. And again, believe it or not, that is very attractive to some people out there. Very attractive. Okay. It may have to do with economic wherewithal. It may have to do with perception of one's own health, with risk reward that someone's willing to take on, with an amount of savings that they have. So there are a lot of variables that go into it. And I wouldn't want to put that out instead of something, but I would like to put it out in addition to the rest of the plan.
And Stephanie, did you say last week that we do offer the HSA, but no employee opted to?
Correct. Last year we implemented the HSA with the $2,500 deductible as our high deductible plan.
Okay.
So that was an offering last year based upon council's request. So that is in place. That offer is there, but currently no employees take that.
And that was the least expensive option to
It is not the least expensive option because the insurance companies still price them out like regular plans.
Okay.
So right now our least expensive option is still the HMO, which is still to our benefit because that's your most managed care. So 50% of our employees are currently in an HMO plan.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else from the dais? From the audience?
Thank you. Tom Simonian, 921 South Batavia Ave. First of all, I want to commend Alderwoman Burkhart for reading Alderman Radecki's comments, because I understand some other aldermen refuse to, which I think is pretty sad. I was on the council when this was all discussed, and I 100% concur with Alderman Radecki that we agreed that there was going to be a 0% increase in this budget, and that was the will of the council. And if I've heard it once, I've heard it dozens of times from the mayor that he is 100% behind the will of the council. And I don't even know why this even was put on the agenda at a 3.8% increase when it was agreed to that we were not going to increase. It was to be a 0% increase in this line item. It is the second largest single line item that we have, $2 million. It's something that should be discussed. It's an area that the entire country wrestles with today. I would ask each and every one of you in your plans, how many of you are getting a gold plan? And I don't care what the rep says, this is a gold plan for 10% of the cost. And how many of you over the last 5 to 10 years have not had to pay any more? I have a high deductible. I have an $8,000 deductible. That's a high deductible. If I wish I had a $2,500 deductible. My last visit to the emergency room, I had to pay a credit card of $500. This is life in the real world. Health benefits are not the way they used to be. They are a major cost, and it's in order for it to work in the future, everybody's got to give a little. This cannot continue down this path without some major problems. Alderwoman Ruby, you asked a great question to the broker last week about where does this fall? I believed his answer about 0. The question I have for him, and I would like to see it produced, is compare our number of employees and our payroll in non-home rule municipalities and come back with a comparison. Anyone who stands up here and says, well, it's with no factual or backup whatsoever to provide to the council, I think is wrong for you all to accept that without some facts and some actual analysis in like scenarios. I just think that this is going down a path that is not good. And if it's lack of communication, lack of understanding, etc., then the other alternative that I would recommend is that, like I do with my companies, like a lot of companies do, is to set an amount that the employer pays, a set amount, dollar amount, or a percentage amount, not 10%, because it's way too generous in this space at this time. And then whatever the difference in amount is will be absorbed by the individual based on the type of plan that they would like. But I think that the will of the council was that this does not, the increase is 0%. You're talking about 3.8%. You're talking about $76,000. And if you sat down with your constituents and explained this to them, all of who have the same issues in their lives, is it acceptable? My gut tells me that more than likely you'd get a majority of them to say this is unacceptable, that everybody should play the game the same way. And the game isn't being played the same way here. And that's not fair, and it doesn't make any sense. Thank you.
Anyone else? Alderman Gilbert?
I brought this up last year, and for the benefit of some of the newer faces, maybe this is worth going into again. At some point, I would like health benefits, the payment from the employees, looked at in light of the salary of the employee. If the person's making $35,000 or $40,000, $300 out of the paycheck to that person means a heck of a lot more than $300 to somebody that's higher paid. Now the devil's in the details. Where do you draw the line? What is considered a higher paid employee? But I can imagine a case as dollars get pinched, as expenses go up, and we're trying to shuffle things around and continue to provide good health coverage. I can imagine the case, I would argue for the case, is somebody that is making more money pays more dollars for health care than somebody who is making less money. Now, yes, where do we draw that line? But on the extreme, it becomes obvious. In the middle, it's a little fuzzy. But keep that in mind, because we do have a large base in the city that might really help. And obviously, we can't do it here, but maybe for next year. Thank you.
I would like to point out to the committee, for those of you who took advantage of listening to the audio tape, which is available to all of you, of the August 31st, 2016 Special Committee of the Whole meeting, it was stated by City Administrator Dawkins, quote, "At the time of renewal, if actual dollars come in higher, then we either pay for it or make plan design changes. Period." We held a special committee of the whole meeting. It was relayed to everybody that here is the dollar amount, here's the proposal from Blue Cross Blue Shield, and we immediately adjourned that meeting based on commentary from a former alderman saying, works for me. So to recreate crises where none occurs is interesting. Let me also read, for the benefit of everyone, since Alderman Radecki chose to share this email with others outside the council, my response to Alderman Radecki. And forgive me, but his absence tonight is his choice. I have no choice but to read my response to him. I wrote, "Sorry for the delay, Jim. I'm not comfortable reading your statement as I disagree with much of what you have written and assert as fact. For example, the City Council made it very clear that the health insurance expenditures for fiscal year 2017 should not exceed $2 million. Same as previous year. The amount budgeted was $2 million, as explained at the 8/31/16 meeting minutes. And although the rates are scheduled to increase, originally at 8.2%, but ultimately ended up at 4.5%, the total dollar amount was within the council demand of $1.9 million. The same is true for this coming year. While we are expected to see a rate increase of 3.4%, the total dollar amount budgeted is within the amount the council demanded, $2 million. Yes, there is a high deductible plan offered, as we all discussed this evening. With respect to the disappointment that the majority of the council showed a lack of discussion on this topic, I'm not going to judge why or why not the majority chose not to comment. Mr. Radecki responded to me as such: "A very sad day when opposing views aren't silenced because you are uncomfortable or just disagree." I do disagree, vehemently. We provide facts and information how certain people choose to manipulate those facts or information for their own purposes is up to them. I believe we have indeed stuck to the spirit and intent of what we said. The tape states it. I would encourage everyone to listen to the audio tape. End of comments. We have a motion, we have a second. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Tara Burkhardt.
Aye.
Don Cummings.
Nay.
Becky Ruby.
Aye.
Dean Kilberg.
Aye.
Craig Maladra.
Aye.
Jeannie McGowan.
Aye.
Robert Swanson.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-1. New business. Madam, are you here for new business? Welcome. Thanks for sticking around.
Hello, my name is Leah Negron, and I am here from Senator McConaughey's office. I am her legislative assistant, and I've been kind of just stopping by the town halls, city councils, just saying hi, all the cities that are in her district. So kind of what I do is I travel back and forth with the senator to and from Springfield. When we're not in Springfield in session, I am in her district office. Most of the work I do is related to her legislation. That's why I'm her legislative assistant. So I do track her legislation, and I also do work on constituent cases. So all of you are in her district. So I just came by to kind of say hi, see what you guys are up to. It's really been a pleasure to sit in and hear your guys' discussion and what's going on in Geneva. So I have cards if you guys ever need to contact our office for anything. If you have legislative priorities you'd like the senator to be made aware of, please contact me. I am here to help you guys in any way. And for those of you that are listening, I don't know where the camera is, but so yeah, I'm going to pass these around.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other new business, ladies and gentlemen, for the benefit of the council? Mr. Kilberg.
Just one event that's coming.
Excuse me. Just one event that's coming up in September of note that I've been asked to pass along. The Geneva Academic Foundation will be celebrating its 30th anniversary here in Geneva. Founded in 1987 to underwrite the addition of computers to our classrooms in 1987. A handful of Geneva citizens organized the Geneva Academic Foundation, and it's still in existence, still serving public education in the community today. On September 23rd, they'll have an anniversary gala and fundraising event, and I know that they're out in the community currently soliciting sales of tickets to that event. Again, on behalf of, I would hope that on behalf of the city, we would recognize their service to the community and wish them well with their upcoming event. Over the last 30 years, the Geneva Academic Foundation has raised over $1 million that has been returned to the 6 elementary schools, 2 middle schools and high school here, schools that serve District 304. And these were for items to supplement instruction in our classrooms, a number of different excellent additions over those 30 years. The Geneva Academic Foundation has been able to also build a sizable endowment that will help in perpetuating the services that the Geneva Academic Foundation has provided and hopefully will continue to provide for decades to come, serving public education here in the community. So I would hope that maybe in September the City Council could recognize the Geneva Academic Foundation for their 30 years of service.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. Well said. Anyone else? A motion to adjourn would be in order. Alderman Burkhart makes the motion.
Seconded.
Seconded by Alderman Kilberg. All in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.